And you think because you are empowering people and you are impacting people that you are not allowed to be angry. Mm-hmm. Your 5-year-old self is not only shamed and guilt and mortified, but you are angry. Be angry. Mm. And I had to come to terms with that because it kept coming up and it kept coming up and and I was like, no, that's not appropriate for how I live my life and the person that I'm trying to be and the person that's done all this work. And I had so many people in a season tell me like, well, I didn't think you were like that because you did so much work. No, I've done the work. Most people will not go there. The thing that I had to release was a well of deep-rooted anger.
Yeah.
Absolutely. That was what was in my face. It was staring me in my face.
Yeah.
So I want to take a second to be a little bit tactical about this retreat because we're talking about how incredible it is and how moving it was. And guys, I cannot explain how much we cried. And how many types of breath work did you teach us in one weekend?
Probably about 5.
Yeah. And like, I love throwing myself under the bus for people because I know there's people that are well advanced than me. And then there's going to be people that have not experienced the things I've experienced. So like, It's so funny to this day, because your mind remembers like certain things, right? Mm-hmm. So like to this day, when I'm somewhere and I see someone take a deep breath, I immediately go to an Ujjayi breath. And I'm like, I see them do it and I'm like, oh, that's not going to calm you down the way this will. Like in my mind, I immediately do that. And I'm like, this is going to calm me down. And then I've also done the breath work and I can't remember what it was called. Forgive me. The one that we did by the river that gives you energy.
Dynamic. Mm-hmm.
Yep. Dynamic breath work. And I always think about how you told me that this will give you more energy than coffee. Mm-hmm. And I've sat outside and done it before and been like, oh my God, you cannot have a messed up day after doing that. You cannot. Like, and so the things I could go in detail, I could tell stories, and I even want to talk about some of the pain that arises after this, but can you just go into detail about some of the things that you cover? Because the things that got smushed into this 4 days.
Yeah.
The things I'm talking about, cold river dunks and breathworks and yoga every morning and crying and peeling back the layers and just eye gazing and things that you also reminded me in this retreat, which is something I say all the time, but I don't get to say enough. And it just was such a beautiful reminder is that women, we tear each other apart, but we have so much incredible healing power within one another.
Yeah.
And you brought us back to that too. So I just want you to cover some of the things that get covered in this retreat.
Yeah. So the retreat, this one was unique, of course, but I tried to keep it consistent with the other retreats that are held. Just catered to this very unique and magnificent group of ladies. He
won't say it, y'all, but we crazy. That's what he was assertive. Like, they're assertive. They are matter of fact. They must know.
I loved it because it made my job easier because eventually the retreat was being ran by the group and I just got to hang out and enjoy the sessions with them.
They always want to schedule, but then they won't follow it because they want to do what they want to do.
Like, hey, Ben, it's cool we eat these leftovers because we ate these leftovers.
We did.
They've been eaten.
Women got in the kitchen and started cooking.
There's 10 of us and only one of you. So I just want to let you know what we're up to.
That is absolutely what we did. I'm sorry.
No, it's perfect. It's perfect. There's 10 of y'all, one of me. So it was, I knew I didn't stand a chance. It's okay. I started getting into the leftovers too. I saw y'all pulling them out. I better get in there while I can.
They eat everything.
Oh my gosh. So the retreat is really designed to take you from, you get off of this shuttle, right? And land in this strange place in the desert.
Literally a place in the desert.
Right.
We pulled up like, okay. All right.
All right. This is the
here we go.
For sure. Okay.
I guess we're doing this. We're committed now.
We're committed. We're here. As long as we don't have to sleep in tents, it's all good. And it takes you from that, the kind of, okay, this is interesting, into welcome home. You know, the energy.
It was very welcome home.
Yeah. the energy of home, the amazing food that Chef Rinda creates and Kindle was creating at the time, the amazing hors d'oeuvres, everything is laid out so that you feel welcomed. The mocktails, the food, everything is there to just invite you in. And then from there, just breaking down the walls, right? Let's break down the walls. Let's connect to our breath, our body. Let's shake off and wiggle off all of that tension and potential anxiety and stress from travel.
Yeah.
Right? Very important. And then from there, we can fully arrive, right? We can bathe ourselves, we can relax into the space, and we can fully arrive. And from there, everything is designed to nurture the food, the exercises, the practices. And once there's enough nurturing going on and everybody's like, okay, I forgot about the stressful travel. I'm happy. I'm excited for lunch. Like, what do we do now? Then we start to create the connection, right?
Yep.
And the connection is the eye gazing. The connection is the touch. The connection is the sharing what you feel in the very moment that you feel it, whenever you're looking into someone's eyes. From there, all of the walls are down. Everybody's connected. Everybody is right back to unity. Everybody feels united. And once everybody feels united, then we get to start having fun, right?
Yeah.
Then we get to start enjoying the yoga, enjoying the breath work. We get to celebrate the cold plunge in the river. We get to say, I can't believe we're doing this, but we are all here together. We're doing it.
Everything was so fun. I just have to bring that up. Like I've had friends that are like, come to yoga with me. And I'm on my way there and I'm like, I am not flexible, bro. Like this is going to be so bad. Like, why am I? We woke up excited to go to the shala. Like we would like, it was just like, we're all going to go hang out. What's up? Like we were so excited to do everything together.
And that happens because of the breaking down of the walls, right? The extraordinary vulnerability that is so medicinal that happens in these workshops.
Yeah.
After that, you're like, oh, there's nothing, I have nothing to hide. There's nothing to hide.
Yeah.
I'm not afraid of anyone here. And this feels amazing. And then to come together and have your hands on the shoulders of your sisters and to breathe together, to harmonize together, it allows for you to now be excited about the retreat. Right? And so from there, we get to really explore these different practices and explore these different teachings. Well, how are we going to bring this back into our life? And then the general consensus was, my husband needs this.
How do we bring men to this?
Yeah. How do we bring men to this? And we start to feel into how are we integrating this energy, because at the end of the day, it is an energy, it's a frequency, into our lives. And so there's a lot of yoga, lots of breath work. And my intention is for it to be very practically applied whenever you get home. Right. So you were thinking about doing yoga before, which yoga asana, the movement, the breath body connection is so beneficial for our mental health and well-being. Maybe you were thinking about it, but then you had this awesome experience in Sedona where you're doing it with your friends and it was just connected and beautiful. So now when you get home, you're excited to do yoga. Right?
Yeah.
And so my real intention is to bring people through this process of letting go of the past, whether that's your childhood or the intense travel to get here, the flight, right? And the drive, to have fun and be nourished, to let all the walls down and open up, and then to go forward and really begin to sink into the experience from there. All of the different practices, all of the workshops, all of the teachings, it's all connected then. It's almost like a grid is created, a web is created. And before that web is created, things are still a little choppy. But when that web is created and everybody's on the same page and there's harmony, there's resonance, then that's when the retreat really begins. Yeah.
Y'all. And I want to bring, there was so many beautiful experiences. The women there, myself, I mean, I can only utilize my own stories. The eye gazing, just being this incredibly powerful exercise. I mean, we were all shedding layers that day, like boo-hoo crying. I specifically remember you can see things like the eyes are literally a mirror. They're a window, and the things that different, we all got to do it with each other, and we traded partners. And I just remember someone there that did not know me giving me an extremely vulnerable view of me that was very, very true, that no one could have known, but they could only see in my eyes. And it broke me to pieces. She said that she saw, because we're eye gazing for a very long time, and then you can't say anything until you give us permission. And she started boohoo crying, and she was like, I saw you in your new home thinking that you were creating a new experience for yourself, but you were on your knees crying every day in a ball. And she said, I'm crying because I can feel how much you hurt during that time, that it was so painful. And I'm screaming, crying, because I'm like, that's exactly true. And she said, but she said, someone came in to save you. And she said, and I think it's you. She said, I think it's yourself. And she said, but you're getting up and you're standing on your 2 feet now, but you were on your knees and in a ball for a very long time. And I was like, it ripped me to shreds, because it was so true. And it was someone that would have not known that had they not seen it through my eyes. And there's just so many other things, like the breath work at the end that you guys do. I think, is that what you call the sonic breath work? Is that what you were saying?
Sonic neural. Yeah.
Sonic neural, like that hour. I have done breath work in so many different places with so many different people. I've done one other breath work like that. And the first time I did it, it was a beautiful experience. It was a beautiful experience for a lot of the ladies there. My experience this time, I got somewhere to a very deep place where there was a lot of anger. And your partner at the retreat had to, she said she put her hands on my feet. And I felt her put her hands on my feet, and it was like an electric current. It stopped all of it, because I was shaking and kicking. And you guys said that you've seen it all. You've seen people jump up and start kickboxing and punching and dancing and laughing. And but to hear the wailing of people during that experience, and I'll let you get into this because I think you explained it so beautifully, is in my mind, in those moments when that is happening, it doesn't matter whether you're experiencing it or not. Because I know people that do these things and they can't go deep enough within themselves to have the experience. But you hear the wailing, and and me wailing, that these are emotions and feelings that have been balled up energy in your body and spirit for a very, very long time. And you can tell it takes days, if we had more time there, but it takes forever to get the unraveling, the unlayering, get to that part of us that we put to sleep to function well or productively or whatever it may be. And wherever you put these things to sleep, not only do they live in that same state you put them to sleep in. So if when you put them to rest, when you were angry, they are angry. When you put them to rest, they are emotions that brought up sadness and depression. They live in your body. And when you experience this deep level of sonic neural breath work, you hear the wailing and the unraveling of like ancestral trauma. It is jarring. Like, I was angry. I was flipping out. And people are crying and screaming and saying they saw grandmothers and ancestors or their mother, or like, it's not I'm trying to think of the word to explain this. It's not magical as experience as much as it is, it's so fucking real.
Yeah.
And it's so unique to you. And so to be able to provide a group experience like that, to get people to me, I always say like the file folders that we have tucked away in the back of the filing cabinet, and be able to pull them out and know that they live there and figure out how to deal with them. Mm-hmm. There ain't nothing like it.
Yeah. The subconscious mind is very, very good at taking thoughts with unresolved emotions and sweeping them under the rug or putting them in the back of the file cabinet, right? And again, it's a safety mechanism. It's our body is extremely good at keeping us safe. And at the end of the day, in this new paradigm, this new earth that we're creating, it's important for us to resolve those thoughts, those experiences with the unresolved emotions, to resolve those emotions. And this can come in the form of at its with the most severity, PTSD, war veterans, murder, rape victims, people who are suffering from real trauma. But it's not just those people who are carrying trauma. It's not. There's so many of us, most of us, who are carrying some form of trauma. And this is interesting how we, when you do the research, do trauma research, and there's a great book called Body Keeps a Score, which is like the opus magnum on trauma. It's a really, really amazing book. And it talks about how there's severe trauma victims with complex trauma, and there's regular everyday people who are maybe subjected to their mother not holding them whenever they were crying, and how that correlates and integrates into their life as an adult, and how they can't trust their romantic partner in relationships no matter how hard they try because they don't feel safe. So when we realize that we're all carrying something that is likely affecting our everyday life as an adult, we start to realize how important this work is of clearing this energy, clearing this unresolved emotions that's being stored as trauma. And so we're going to connect the dots here to when we talked about a Christian or someone who's really rooted in their beliefs, could be anyone, to have the thinking mind dissolve and be able to experience the superconscious, to be able to experience reality simply as it is, not with all of our belief systems integrated into that lens of reality, right? During sonic neural breathwork, during plant medicine, and other trance-inducing experiences, the thinking mind dissolves. And as soon as that happens, as soon as our belief systems, as soon as our lens of identity gets out of the way, the body begins to heal itself. Whether it's physically, right? People start to do Reiki on themselves and they don't even know, they never heard the word Reiki. I've seen that.
Yeah.
I've seen incredible physical healings. People who just came out of double knee replacement surgery 6 weeks before, could hardly walk. I've seen them get up, stand up, do squats and dance around after this breathwork experience, because we are all our own healer. And the body can heal itself as soon as we get out of the way, right? So what's happening whenever people are wailing and crying and laughing and singing and moving their bodies is a healing process. And the way that the body heals is through vocal expression. A lot of the time to release energy is through vocal expression and through movement. This is why if you see somebody having a healing experience in breathwork, plant medicine, you name it, they might be shaking, right? And doing this. And in bioenergetics and different yoga practices, we do that. right? And movement,
Right.
moving the body. And then you're like, whoa, I feel really good after that. But this is deeper. This is the prayer. The intention is healing, is letting go, is connecting more with the higher self, whatever that looks like. And when that's the prayer, when that's the frequency in the room, and we all breathe together and we all let the thinking mind dissolve together, then boom, that grid is still there. The web is still there. So we're all healing with one another, through one another. And it creates this really interesting and very powerful dynamic that after hundreds and hundreds of groups that we've led through this experience, everybody's experience is kind of linked up in some interesting way, but it's not in a way that's toxic. You know, this can also be, you don't want your healing to transition through someone else without, you know, them having the capacity for that or something of that nature. But it happens in a really beautiful way every single time. And whenever this healing is taking place, whatever that unresolved emotion is that we've got stored away in the file cabinet is going to be right in your face.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. Right.
Right in your face.
Yeah. I want you to imagine that we are a well, right? A well. Down at the bottom of that well, nobody even knows that it's down there.
Right.
You even forgot about it, right? Can't see the bottom. Get nice fresh water up on top. This practice is like taking some sort of device and reaching all the way down there and pulling it all the way up and out of the well, because we didn't know that thing way down at the bottom was contaminating the water. Right? We didn't realize that. We were just drinking the water, thinking it's fine. But when we pull that up, we see it and it's surfaced and it's there. And that's the emotions that were never resolved. So whatever that anger, sadness, happiness, right? Celebration, everybody's different. Everybody has different things that surface and arise. Whatever it is, and each experience is different as well. That is something that is ready to be released. And again, the night is darkest before the dawn. And that is a very beautiful metaphor within that saying, because that anger is going to be so right in your face. And as soon as that emotion is right in your face, that's how you know when it's ready to be released and it's ready to go. This is why it's so important to allow the emotions that we feel to fully arc, right? That anger gets in your face, or, you know, let's use complex trauma. That IED that exploded is that experience is right in your face and you feel it in your body. We don't want to take that and push it away, right?
Because we feel so unstable. We're taught that's so unstable to have like these up and down emotions. Yeah. I'm so loud. I so badly want to like underline and capitalize what you just said about like the moment the emotion is in your face, it's ready to be released. The moment the emotion's in our face, 90% of us push it. We're like, no. I don't have the time, the capacity. Yeah. Like I was talking to someone the other day that literally said, the therapist you sent me is great, but she always wants me to cry. And I just don't have time for that right now. Yeah. In my business. Yeah. And it's like, no, when the thing is in your face, it's trying to leave. Yeah. Like, y'all, I'm hearing this and I want the world to hear this, what you just said. And please continue. But I'm just like, when it's in your face, one of the toughest things I had to recognize when I went to you in May, and right after that I did EMDR, my second EMDR session. And with you, it was so much anger. I had did a breathwork 2 months before that, very similar, very deep. And had this really happy, beautiful experience of letting go. The one I did with you, I'm talking about angry, like I wanted to kick somebody's head off. Mm-hmm. And then I do EMDR and I'm reprocessing a memory and the same exact thing happens. She tells me to imagine me putting a glass in between me and the person that I'm having struggling with a memory. And she tells me to go in as my higher self and speak her off a ledge. And as I'm trying to speak to her, I start kicking and punching the glass, literally flicking birds at the glass. And I tell her, I'm like, I can't even control her. And she said, that's okay. That's the 5-year-old in you that is having a tantrum.
Yeah.
That you are trying so hard not to let her out. And you think because you are empowering people and you are impacting people that you are not allowed to be angry. Mm-hmm. Your 5-year-old self is not only shamed and guilt and mortified, but you are angry. Be angry. Mm-hmm. And I had to come to terms with that because it kept coming up and it kept coming up and I was like, no, that's not appropriate for how I live my life and the person that I'm trying to be and the person that's done all this work. And I had so many people in a season tell me like, well, I didn't think you were like that because you did so much work. No, I've done the work. Most people will not go there. The thing that I had to release was a well of deep-rooted anger.
Yeah.
Absolutely. That was what was in my face. It was staring me in my face.
Yeah.
Sorry.
It's okay. No, and that's, I remember texting you like, Jessica, how are you doing? Jessica,
yes.
What's going on? And you're like, BRB,
Yeah.
I'll get to you later. I'm like, Jessica?
Yes. I'm checking on you again.
Yeah. And that's me also trying to control, right? Because your journey is unique. And if our journey of surfacing the anger was that the purpose for us to meet was to surface the anger and then you resolve it over time with someone else, that's perfect. And I wanted to make sure that that was something that was being done, of course. And so it's great to hear that the EMDR that also came up and that you were able to have that sacred rage, right? Which we call it, that sacred rage. And having a sacred rage ceremony is a beautiful, beautiful thing to do there. And it is just literally letting it rip.
Letting it rip.
And they also make rooms for this. And I forget where it is, but you go in with the baseball bat. Yeah. Okay.
We have them here.
Going with a baseball bat. It probably costs a lot because you break a lot of shit, but but you just absolutely just let it rip in that room. And I could see that being a really beautiful practice for sacred rage. So maybe that's something to consider.
My hardest bit of it all was acknowledging it.
Yeah.
Because I felt so intensely that I was not supposed to feel that way, that I needed to be a bigger, better person. Yeah. And that rage was not appropriate for who I was calling to be and who I was calling other people to be, as if I'm not meant to experience rage, or that the thing that happened that I experienced was not traumatic enough to give me rage. Mm-hmm. And the reality is how I felt about it was how I felt about it. And the resistance to acknowledging the emotion was my biggest battle, because once I did, then I just got to have gratitude and grace for it. Yeah. And it was like, so as it would come up, I would be like, oh, okay, like you're safe. You're angry. You feel those feelings again. It is okay. And I just slowly kind of worked myself through it. But the resistance to the feeling that was not appropriate for who I was my biggest battle. And then when I stepped outside of it, I had so many people tell me like, well, we could see it. You were a whole different version of yourself. You were not you. And so as I've stepped, it was the acknowledgement, the acknowledging that you are enraged by this. Yeah. And that's how you felt about it and no one else. And that's okay. That was the hardest part. The healing began the minute I was able to say, okay, not once, not twice. This lives inside of me. I'm not picking it up from someone else. It's not something that I think may be a thing. It lives inside of me. And it keeps surfacing. And until I meet it, own it, and find ways to release it, am I going to be able to like deal with this head on? And that was the most important experience for me.
And it really holds true to what we shared earlier. And that is, in the spiritual path, things are challenging before they become easy. Right?
There's a moment I want to speak to anyone doing any healing work, and I'm sure you could speak to this as well. Is there's a moment, a lot of this work Megan and I do together as friends, which I really enjoy. And so then we get to come together and talk about how it affects us as business owners and as people. And there's always a moment, like truthfully, honestly, like weeks after, I went for a walk with someone that went with us, and then spoke to my best friend, and they both said similar things of like how hard it is to come back to your normal after that, because you're kind of creating a new normal. And you have this moment, and Megan and I would always joke afterwards, like, how many of these things do we have to do before we get to the result? Like, how many of these things do we have to do before, because they kind of put you off your path. Like you're like, I'm hustling, I'm getting it, I'm going, I'm making all the money, I'm scaling my business, my this, my that. And then you choose to make some of these decisions, and they feel like they're never at the right time when you prioritize your healing, which they're always at the right time, by the way.
Oh my gosh. Yep.
But you choose it, and then it sets you off your, what you feel like at the time is momentum.
Yeah.
So you're like, so I remember saying to Megan, like, this really took me off my horse. And how long am I going to be here? Because I don't have time for this.
Right.
But now, 3 months later, I'm like, thank God, because what else was I going to do? Just continue to push through that emotion until I exploded again? I'm an Aries, for Christ's sake. No.
Right.
Like, it had to happen. And there was nothing convenient about it. And had I chose to do what is easy for all of us, and I really want people to just take a second to hear this part and acknowledge this. Had I just chose to work and make more money and focus on my business and my clients and my growth and my team and all the things, listen, that's the easiest thing you can do. Yeah. That was the easiest thing I could do, because let me be clear, I know how to make money. I've learned, I know. Like once you get to that place in entrepreneurship where you've lost a lot and you've made it back, you're like, look, I could literally do this. It might hurt every time, but I could do it over and over and over again, and it's not a problem. When you finally can acknowledge that that's the easiest thing for you to do, but the healing and the choice to center around yourself and say, yes, my money and my team and my business and my momentum is important, but there is nothing more important than healing the thing that keeps surfacing in my life, that changes the way I make decisions, that lives inside of me, that leaves me powerless, that takes from me, and I'm choosing to say, not right now. Just swallow it, embody it. Not right now, not right now. It is the equivalent of the work you hate to do when you know you got to rebudget or save your money or readjust your business or scale back or lean out. And you're like, these are very uncomfortable things that I don't want to do. And I can tell when I start to do them, it's going to take some time to get back to where I was. Welcome to the greatest self-development journey you will ever be on. Those are the things that I didn't want to do, had the biggest ROI I've ever had, was dealing with some of these things head on.
Absolutely. And it holds true to, we've talked a lot about the masculine and feminine today, and holds true to really the feminine essence is loving every part of yourself, right? Even the anger, even loving yourself when you're angry, when you're depressed, when you're anxious, when you're upset, when you're sad. How can we love ourselves unconditionally, always? And this might be the greatest challenge of this journey, right? Because it's easy to love everyone else as a distraction from loving oneself. Right. And so when I ask this question, how can we unconditionally love ourselves? It's a real question. So if anyone knows, go ahead and chime in now.
In the comments, give it to us straight.
Yeah. In the comments. Yeah. Because this is everything that I've talked about. I want to be very clear. Everything that I teach, everything that I share, I'm a master of none of it. right?
Mm.
And this is an ongoing learning experience for myself as I teach. It's one of the ways that I learn, because I'm a great teacher.
You are.
But I'm not the best student. Right? So in the teaching, there is a learning. And thank you for saying that. And so I just want to be clear that I am absolutely still learning to love myself. And there's moments where I tell myself things that I shouldn't. And so we're all here together, right? Learning to love ourselves. And I think a self-love practice is really key as we progressively deroot the old paradigms, the old conditioning, the old experiences that make us think that we aren't worthy, right? The things that tell us we don't love ourselves. As we progress in our healing journey, what is our self-love practice? And for me, it's going to the gym, taking a salt bath, starting my mornings slow, right? Hopefully waking up early, but starting the morning slow so that by the time the workday begins, I'm so zen and so chill that nothing is going to break me down. If I don't do that self-love practice, then little things can throw me off the rails, right? To where I got to say, okay, halt. I got to go do, 4 rounds of dynamic breath work. Or take a little hit of cannabis or do something to mellow myself out. But if I practice self-love, which in essence is an energy of the feminine, consistently, my life is better. So when I ask the question, how can we love ourselves unconditionally? I'm encouraging everyone listening to ask that question themselves. How can you love yourself unconditionally? And how can you bring the energy of unconditional love for yourself into your everyday routine, right? So Jessica, what are some ways that you unconditionally love yourself every day?
Yes. Okay. So you taught us this. I mean, like I had some of the practices, but the way that I love it, how you end the retreat with, like, what are the ways that you're going to do this? How are you going to prioritize yourself? And you really go step by step, like not just like, how are you going to love yourself? Like you go step by step through food, through clearing your personal environment, through like changing the energy in your body, so I love that you did that. And, it's impossible for us to do all of them, but, until we're like Ben, obviously be more like Ben, but there was some things I kept that just doing this with you made me realize some of the things that worked for me that I already had. So my absolute must, which I love that we're bringing this up because it was imperative and a very important decision I just made, was my self-care and my self-love routine. Was my must-haves are in the morning. If I have my son, I get him up, we get ready, and I put on workout clothes and I take him to school, and then I immediately go outside. I go for a walk by the water. If I'm by myself, the first thing I do is I jump out of bed, put on my workout clothes, and I go outside. It is never with intentions to work out. It's just to walk and be by the water because I live very close to the water. But sometimes I feel called to run, which I love because I'm realizing with my body, if I have a lot of energy or if I have a lot of anxiety, I will sprint. And it helps because I'm like, in my mind and my human design, I am a generator. So I have bouts of energy. So I will run and it gets me back to my place of Zen. So going outside, and I have to be around water. Like I have to see how neutralizing it is, see how silent it is, see how peaceful it is. I have to be around it. And then I come home and I have to dance. I have to dance.
I love that.
I have to dance. I have to play music. I have to move my body. It's because, and it just takes me back to everything we've ever learned. You said it, everyone said it, but I specifically remember being at a Tony Robbins event and he said, your job is to change your state so that you don't have to change your mind. And if you change your state, decisions are easy. You won't question your decisions. You won't doubt yourself. You won't allow that bridge to even be built for doubt and fear if you're in this beautiful state. And that beautiful state can be created through dance or screaming or yelling or breath work or just things that make you incredibly happy. And if you take control of that, you do yourself a favor, because you have a lot of things, especially as a business owner, an entrepreneur, just a parent in general, that you have to say yes to all day that are hard. So make yes easy by changing your state.
Yeah.
And so the dance is just like, I'm not kidding. I have this huge mirror and I have floor to ceiling windows. And I always think if someone saw me, they'd be like, what the hell are you doing? Like, yes, it's dancing, never, baby. Yeah, it's hips. Like all I want to do is move my hips, and I jump around, and then I end up realizing I'm affirming myself in the mirror. So I'm like, look at you, girl. Like, look at you. Like, you got this. Like, you're going to kill this. You do this every day. Like, and I'm like having a ball with myself. It's insane. So it's the walking, it's the dance, it's the water immediately, it's the tea. And then of course I'm spoiled. So I do have my coffee. I have my coffee. And then I am a writer. So I have to journal. I have to. I actually did not know until I started talking to other people that they'll be like I've had people way wealthier, way killing it. And I show them my journal and they're like, you journal every day?
Yeah.
I'm like, yes, it's a must. I live by it. And I know it's not for everyone, but for me to just dump, and it doesn't matter how I feel, or if I don't do it in the morning, I will do it at night, but I have to dump it out. And I tell people I go buy 4 different things. Cause a lot of people will go, what do you write? And so for me, I'll write how I'm feeling. I'll write how I'm feeling. So it could be that I'm feeling incredible, or what I want my day to be. It could be that I feel like shit. God, I don't know what you're doing. I don't know why I feel like this. I don't know why I'm feeling experiences of sad and this and that, but I'm hoping, I'll write like a 2-page letter, just talking to myself, talking to God. Like I'll write a letter to God, or I write if I'm struggling and I'm just empty. I'll write what I call the perfect day. And so I'll just pick a random date, 6, 8, 12 months from now, that doesn't feel too far out, but I know it's coming. And I will just paint using all my senses what that day looks like.
I love that.
And it's funny because every time I do it, it reminds me of the very one thing that every time I do it, it brings me back to the same place. And I just want to give this gift to everyone. The things I end up painting are never robust. When I give myself the opportunity to go in grave detail about the perfect day, like I'll give you a really funny example of the things that came up in the last one. I just started writing and I let myself free flow and go. I imagine myself buckling my son into his car seat. It was Halloween because I saw like a cape and I was like, what am I looking at in my mind? And it was, he had on a Superman costume. And so I was buckling him in and we were getting ready for Halloween. I got in the car, I was driving and I rolled down the windows a little bit and I could smell the fall air. And I love the fall, like the smell of like the not too hot, not too, and you want just like something pumpkin or something. I don't know. You just want something with flavor, like
Spice
autumn.
latte.
I don't love those, but I get it. I do get it though. And like, you want to wear like a light jacket. So like I pictured myself with a light jacket on. We're driving. I'm like, where are we going? I park in this random parking lot. Then I realize he's hungry. So I go get him some French fries. He's smiling. Like we park and then I'm like, who are we meeting? And I'm meeting Megan and her man. And they're meeting us to walk my son to trick or treat. And we're holding hands and we're laughing and we're swinging him and he's having the time of his life. And we're just all talking and we're communing and like making a day of someone we love's experience, but making it a day for us because we're enjoying each other's company. And I'm writing this and I'm like, this is my perfect day. Like every time I'm like, this is my perfect day. But when I give myself the open opportunity to experience, to think about what joy feels like, it's never when I'm in the Caribbean on the beach. I mean, that's wonderful too. And we all deserve beautiful, beautiful experiences that give us just insane amounts of rest. And we spoil ourselves. But like my perfect day looks like the freedom to have the perfect day.
Yeah. I love that. The simple things.
Yeah.
They really,
simple things.
we're constantly seeking a lot of us are constantly seeking the elaborate and big and bold and excessive things in life, whenever really it's the simple things that we really value, the connections with your family and your friends. So I love that you have that practice, and I love that it's always you're always like, this is my perfect day, because the badass entrepreneur in you is like, we're at the Four Seasons and we just got done seeing Calvin Harris. It's like, it could be this big, exaggerated experience, but it's like trick-or-treating with your kid. How sweet.
I've spoken on stages. I've won awards. I'm sure you've done all these things too. And I did an episode about this, and I'll repeat this until I'm blue in the face. Success can't silence the noise.
Yeah.
Success can't silence the noise. And I've had all of those things and I barely remember them. I have to go back there mentally when someone asks me about them. And so one of my favorite things to create in my mind or reminisce on is simplicity.
Yeah.
Simplicity. Just experiencing this with you again, talking through it reminds me how beautiful that experience is with you guys. And how I think everyone needs to experience such a beautiful unity around love and doing the work, and just the retreat experience that you have created through Connect and Evolve. So I got to ask you, Ben, when's your next one?
Yeah. Be happy to tell you.
Megan and I literally were like, we have to do this twice a year.
I know. I would love that. Our next one is September 21st through the 25th. And we have a couple of spots left for that one. We just had, which is amazing. This mother and her two daughters sign up to come. So getting a lot of family dynamics.
Is it co-ed?
It is co-ed.
Yeah. Okay. Okay.
And so we have a couple spots left for September, and then we have another one in November. And November is, I believe it is the 20th through the 24th. And I have to just double check, make sure. We have so much happening. I'm like, what are these retreat dates again?
Yeah.
But we have one in September and then one coming up in November. The one in November is actually the 16th through the 20th.
16th to 20th.
Yeah, okay. we got plenty of spots for that one. We usually hold anywhere between 8 to 12 people. And
are these both in Sedona?
They are both in Sedona at Grace Grove.
Oh,
yeah.
My body just is at ease when you say that phrase. Guys, you have to go to this, because just this place alone, Grace Grove, is just an experience in itself.
Yeah. And these last two retreats are extra sweet, and it's kind of hard to illustrate and share this in like social media and whatnot. But for everybody that's been to Grace Grove will feel this deeply in their hearts. But these are going to be our last retreats at Grace Grove for a while. Yeah. Yeah. They're shifting. Grace Grove is going to be more of a home, which is great for everyone who lives there.
It is a home.
And so we're finding ways to potentially continue doing retreats there and later in 2023. But for the beginning of 2023, we know that we'll be doing them elsewhere. And I'm in constant flow with the universe and what the divine asks of me. So if we're doing retreats at all, we'll be doing them elsewhere.
Guys, you got to get on this one. You have to get on this one. We'll put a link in the show notes to either get in contact with Ben or check out more about the retreat. I, again, 5+5+5 stars if I could.
Thank you.
Hands down, one of the most incredible experiences I have ever experienced from a healing perspective. And as a busy human, I'm just going to say this, as a busy human, I needed it delivered that way. I got a chance to shut everything down. There was no service at the location. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful shedding, and just opportunity to acknowledge a lot of things and get very clear with myself and with and people, and just get back to love. I had been praying unconditionally, or praying to God the same sentence over and over for months. God, just get me back to giving and receiving unconditional love. And that was a cornerstone for me of getting back to that. Even if it was acknowledging the anger to release it, I felt so much love. I felt so much love for myself again. I'm going to say this in a really weird way that I think you or women might understand, but I felt like so sexy and in love with myself again when I left. Like, I was just like, oh, like this girl and this body and this human and this heart, like I have everything. Like I don't need to be or do anything else. And that was a power trick in its own, that I was just like, oh, I have my power back.
Yeah. It's an ultimate act of self-love, a retreat. And it, you know, the retreat is a hero's journey in itself because it's unfamiliar. The safety alarm might tell you, oh, do you really want to go do that? Do you really?
You've never done this before.
You're right. You've never done this before. What is this? Oh my God. And every time that we address that safety alarm and we say, no, I feel this in my heart. I feel this in my gut. I'm going to do this. Every single time, it's more beautiful than we could have imagined before with the thinking mind.
Yeah.
And so it does take it takes courage to come on a retreat. And from my experience, you know, I go on multiple retreats a year to stay fresh and to reset myself, especially facilitating. And every single time I'm like, man, this was far more valuable than I could have imagined it was before coming. Like I had no idea. And that's a beautiful part of it now that I feel, and that you guys can feel going forward. It's like the curiosity, the mystery of what the retreat actually has in store for you. It's something to be really excited about.
Yes. And I'll leave you guys with this. One of my favorite parts about this was you were so committed to us leaving with tools, that you gave us workbooks and you gave us all of us a call afterwards. And one of the things I'm learning in my ripe age of 33 is that so many things come up in life that are just an invitation for you to practice what you've been given. And there's been so many times just in the last couple of weeks where like I feel a feeling or I feel an emotion and I'm like, like you have all the tools. Go back to the things that you've learned that you can practice. And one thing that retreat did for me was equipped me with a lot of tools, from tools that I can use to self-regulate, tools that I can really use to like tune in internally. And just tools that like can really get me back to love.
Yeah.
And so I just want to point that out for someone that's like, you know, I know so many people think that everything is just a feel-good retreat or event now. No, you gave me tools that I'll be equipped with for life from that retreat. So I cannot thank you guys enough for that.
Well, thank you so much for sharing that. And that is really my intention, is to make this mystery, right? Spirituality and healing and growth and evolution, to make it as practical as possible, because we do live here on Earth. It is a beautiful planet, and we live in a modern world where many things are required of us that weren't previously in history. And for us to really thrive here at this time, we have to integrate the breath, the movement, the stillness, the understandings, the unity. And once we do, our experience here on Earth is so much more beautiful and fulfilling.
Yep.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you to my brother, Ben. Literally one of the best experiences I've ever had, guys. Check this out. Scroll down in the show notes if you want more information, or you can stalk Ben. He's hardly ever on social media, but when he is, where can they find you?
Yeah. So Connect and Evolve. It's all one word. It's at Connect and Evolve on Instagram. I also have a music page. If people want to check out the music, it's at Ben Holt _music. And then connectandevolve.com is the website. There's everything is there. The retreat is on the front page of the website. And then you can go to connectandevolve.com /retreats, and it'll take you right to the retreats page. Super easy, very simple to navigate.
All right. Any last words to our folks before we head out?
You are the medicine. Trust yourself and trust your heart and trust your gut, and make sure to nurture and love yourself at these times. And you also are your business. Your body is your business, and your business is only going to be a reflection of how well you take care of yourself. So prioritize you and love yourself, and life will be much sweeter.
Y'all heard the man. Your body is your business. So stay rich in real life. I love you guys. And until the next episode.